So yes. So in thinking about Juneteenth and Think and Grow Rich, it just reminded me that if we want to change, we have to change. Because many of us we know what it is to be free, right? And we have that freedom to do whatever we want. But it goes back again to freedom is not, it just creates the opportunity, but desire creates the transformation. I'm going to say that again. Freedom creates the opportunity, but desire creates the transformation. I just want to be real about this because I know Jean and Natasha works for the MTA. That's I also work for the agency. And I've seen there's so many opportunities for us to grow when we come into the agency. But I've seen so many people, whatever title they came in with, they stayed at that title for 25 plus years. And they never moved up. And the opportunity is there. So here we are, we have, even though freedom is available to us, okay, how many of us really taking advantage of that freedom? And I'm speaking to myself as well in there. We see millions of people, we're free to start businesses. And we noticed during COVID, a lot of people went into businesses for themselves, and a lot of young people. When we had the crash, when the market crashed, a lot of people said, "No, I'm not going to allow that to control." Okay, so that freedom to choose, okay, gives us that freedom. So to accomplish whatever we want, it gives us free will. We could reinvent ourselves. Here we are focusing on becoming the person who we want to be, the best version of ourselves. Millions are free to reinvent themselves, but few actually commit to becoming someone new. And so I'm so excited that we made that decision to do that. So the difference between freedom and desire is that freedom opens the door. Desire gives you the courage to walk through the door. So going back to Freedom Day. So when the enslaved people in Texas learned they were free, everything changed. Imagine the announcement didn't really make everyone say, okay, I'm free. Some people were still chained. They were still in prison. But you had the ones who said, I have a dream. I want to believe again. My life can become more than what it has been. Now that's a burning desire. The ones who chose to say, I can do this now that I'm free. But it's like, and it just reminds me of this dog that they had chained. They did an experiment, and the dog could only go as far as the chain would allow it. And after they released the chain, the dog wouldn't go past that spot because it was so it didn't have to believe that that it's free. And so many of us, that's how we feel, and because of what we learned. Okay, and that's holding us back. And this is why I love what we're doing here. It takes work because everything didn't happen to us overnight. So it's going to take some time to unlearn some stuff. So my question is, how many of us are still living in the prisons that no longer have locks? And I'm talking about the prison of self-doubt, past failures, disappointment, fear of judgment. That door is already open. What if the next chapter of your life is waiting for your permission? I just want to ask the question, are you ready to say yes to you? We owe it to ourselves to become the best version of ourselves. And this is why I love inner work so much because it you just got to do that work. So you have to sit with it and act. You have to be true to yourself and creating that space. Natasha is going to be so. It's going to serve so many people because you could sit there and you could really use that space to get centered. I mean, you can get centered anywhere, but sometimes when you have you have that safety spot that you could say, "This is my spot to go to." So that's you're doing such a wonderful job there with that. So going back to, you see, desire changes everything. Napoleon Hill called desire the starting point of all achievement. It's not the talent, it's not the education, it's not connections, it's the desire. Because desire creates persistence. Sometimes we want to, when we don't really go back to the gym, I'm going to use the gym as an example. It feels so good when the days because I used to be a real gym rat. And there's days when I was like, I don't feel like going. And when I push myself to go, that would be one of the best workouts I would ever have. So when you persist, okay, you get the results. And anyone who knows that goes to the gym, you're working out to get the muscle, you're gonna go through that pain. Okay, but when you see that muscle growing, and you feel so good because you've seen the results. So people who achieve extraordinary things are not always the most gifted. They're often the people who refuse to quit. Type in chat, I'm not a quitter. We're not quitters. And I just love my Bible stories. I just love it. And one of my favorites is the 5 loaves and 2 fish. And then, in the story, it talks about Jesus was preaching all day, and the people came in droves from all around. And they gathered, and, at the end of the day, it's like he knew they were hungry. And he said, God, so the disciple says, the, Jesus, we gotta let them go because we don't have no food out here. And Jesus says, okay, let's see what we have. And the little boy gave up his 2 fish and 5 loaves to feed the thousands. And they talked about 5,000 men. They said it was in reality, it was more like 15,000 men, women, and children. That's a huge, enormous need. And the resources seem very insignificant. Thousands to be fed with five 5 loaves and 2 fish. That's a huge undertaking. But if we're looking at the situation logically, most of us would say that's not enough. Let's wait until we have more. How many of us are saying, okay, I got to get things right before I make the next step? Or I have to have this before I do that? The little that was available was blessed. It was multiplied and was used to feed thousands. Why do I love this story so much? It's because many of us are waiting until we have the money, the confidence, the experience, certainty. And I can say that for myself. I know I gotta go out and do a Facebook Live, and I should be doing more, even more lives. But I'm waiting to get that confidence. And I have to step out of my comfort zone and just do it. So before we move towards our dream, we gotta start with the desire. We have to start with what we have been given, because we all been given talents. We have to trust and move forward. More will be, and trust that more will be provided. So take that step forward. And the more steps we take moving forward, the more we're going to see. We're going to see that path is going to open up. Imagine if Jesus has show us our entire life. Oh gosh, we will be scared stiff. So as I bring this home, I just wanna, I think I lost. Okay, lost Gene. Okay. As I bring this home, I just want to say, how many of us are sitting on our 5 loaves and 2 fish? The gift, the dream, the business idea, the ministry, our message, our purpose, and we're telling ourselves it's not enough. What if the breakthrough isn't waiting for more resources? What if it's waiting for us to use what we already have? I want to close with this question. What dream would you pursue if you knew you couldn't fail? What dream would you pursue if you knew you couldn't fail? Not someday, because someday is the road that leads to nowhere. Not next year. Next year is not promised. Next week is not promised. Tomorrow is not promised. What about making that decision now? We've been talking about choice all day. Making the choice to say, I'm going to go for it. Because Juneteenth reminds us that freedom is available. The freedom to get whatever we dream of. And Napoleon Hill reminds us that desire is the starting point. And in the story, he talks about uh, burning the ships. And how many of us are willing to burn the ships? So our challenge reminds us that transformation happens when we do the 4-letter word, and it's work. We got to do that personal work for ourselves. We got to be reminded, because whatever the results is from the work that we put in. So if we want to change the results, we got to change what we do. We have to be the change. The life we desire is not waiting for more luck. It's waiting for a greater version of you. And that version is already emerging. You're not in the tomb, as they say. You're in the womb, ready to give birth. What is the one dream you're no longer willing to leave on the shelf? So as we go about this week or go about the rest of this day, we can ponder on that. What is the one dream you no longer want to leave on the shelf? And going back to our challenge, just the 3 pillars. And I believe it helps us on this journey, which is the fasting. Fasting is not to deprive ourselves, it's to strengthen our discipline. The visualization is not to daydream, it's to teach the subconscious who we are becoming. Gratitude, not because life is perfect, but because life keeps us focused on possibility. The challenge isn't about manifestation. The challenge is about becoming the best version of yourself. So that's my mini message for today. I hope it resonated. So share and chat. Oh, we have a couple of minutes. Share in chat if you got anything from it or what's your takeaway from it. Dawn, Sharon, is that your hand up? Is that a hand up, Sharon? Okay, so from that mini lesson that feedback is great, so that's the whole key is
Which one?
when
Hmm.
they say that when you learn a thing, when you truly know a thing, when you can teach it and someone else understands. So when it comes to desire, and this is the topic, it's always going to be, I could always make it better. We always could make things better, but were there any clarity or anyone wants to add anything to it? You can unmute yourself and the voices are great.
I thought
Don't get the
it was
feedback.
a. Can you hear me, Diane?
Yep.
I thought it was a great message, and I thought that the difference between opportunity and that it's available and desire is your choice or your wish to pursue was a great differentiation. And I think that like in my sphere as a coach, that's a message that I'm going to be putting out. The question is, do you have the desire to change your circumstances? A lot of people are stuck for various reasons, but it's like, okay, you can, but will you?
Which brings me back to the Obamas. Yes, we can. So Christy, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say that I loved what you said about the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, because often we'll limit ourselves and say, I've only got this little thing. Whereas you were saying that if we can use that. And also, what I did like is that you said it does take work. So we need to know that it will take work, but it's really worth putting in the effort. And you've just encouraged us so much to use what we have. So thank you.
Thank you for that. That's one of my favorite stories. Jen?
I also was thinking about what you had said with the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, but that if you are really relying on God, using your faith, I mean, yes, you want to be practical and prepare and not just, jump off the cliff without any kind of preparation. But if you're doing the preparation, you're putting forth the effort, you're moving in the correct direction and doing the work and asking God for help, have the faith. Have the
Yeah.
faith that it is going to provide, God is going to provide, and also do our manifestations. Write it as it is happening. I'm so grateful that this has happened. My
Mm-hmm.
goal, my dream, as if it has happened. Be and feel it, and do our gratitudes, do all of the things that we are learning about are manifesting it. And I know that I've been guilty of the wrong thinking and saying, "Oh, I want to have a clean this, or I want to be more organized," meaning I'm not organized. And so I'm keeping
Mm-hmm.
myself not organized in that area. I'm keeping myself not in that area. And instead of saying, I'm so grateful that I already am
Mm-hmm.
this, I'm so grateful that I already have this. Thank you so much for helping me already be that, and I'm going to do some of my manifestations that way today so that I can help myself over that little hump and but I really liked the 5 loaves and 2 fishes to help so many things. You're thinking of, instead of thinking of lack, be grateful that we already have
Mm-hmm.
everything that God has given us.
Yeah.
We've got so
It's
much.
available. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's the world is abundant. And the
Yeah,
whole key
it's
is
there.
that we're not robbing it from anybody
Mm-hmm.
because it's so abundant. Okay, there's enough for you, me, and everybody else in the world. But what we gotta do, we gotta call it in. We
Mm-hmm.
gotta claim it. We got to speak it. Going back to the words, what are the words that's coming out of our mouths? Okay, Mary Morrison. I was listening to her a little bit this morning, and that's what it talks about. That what really blocks really manifestation. When is our words? We block it. Our thoughts. So that's why everything has to be in proper alignment. What are we thinking? And it's so important. I have these sticky notes, and I was thinking about, I said, boy, somebody comes into this house and they see, but no, it's really in my bedroom and in my office. So I have sticky notes where I have like quotes from different people. And I think I had sent you a picture of that, Christy. And I have it in my bedroom. And I was listening to one of the speakers, who was on Tony Robbins. And she talked about she did the same thing. And I was like, yes. So now I'm saying, I'm so glad I'm doing that. It's like, yes, that's my wall art. So I would get up in the morning and I would read something, and it might be a quote from the Bible, or it might be a saying. And okay, let me see. I'm looking at one right now. The power within you will give you everything you want. You know, Queenie missed the time. Queenie's coming in when we getting ready to close. Okay, so going back to, I can look up and I can sit here, and sometimes I'm working on the computer, and I could say, I can look up and I can see something. Okay, I go back to the affirmations. I approve of myself. Saying, really declaring, good things. So Queenie, welcome. You came in. We came in. We're getting ready to close out. So we miss you. It's 9:30. I know I forgot to put the link in the chat. Queen.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so sorry. It's been so busy. And, I tried to. I wasn't sure exactly what time was the meeting.
No. Well, Queenie, I'm gonna post it in the chat. So, and I gotta add you to the group. But anyways, you're gonna get a copy of the recording. So I'm gonna edit this version and make it tight. I didn't post the other one that we did. I gotta post that as well. And so I just want to thank everyone for joining, and going back to our question. If you couldn't fail at whatever you want, what would it be? What would that be? And I know we're all doing a lot. And can we do more? Yes.